Hello, my name is Elizabeth Collins, and today we'll be viewing a session with a client by the name of Jubilee Jones. Jubilee Jones originally came to our counseling office to get assistance with resolving a conflict that she is having at work with a co-worker who happens to be the boss's best friend. Because of that, Jubilee is experiencing some inferiority feelings, feelings of jealousy, and frustration. In our first assessment, we did go over the informed consent and the confidentiality agreement. We also discussed the therapist-client relationship, and that is discussing some of my expectations of Jubilee, and that would be that she would come in once a week until her conflict is resolved, and also that I would be assigning her some homework at times. In our first and second session, we did discuss birth order and family constellation. We found through that Jubilee is an only child. We also discovered that she was raised in a very loving and accepting home. At times her mother was overbearing, and at times her father, she felt like, did not give her love and acceptance unless she was accomplishing something. My homework that I assigned Jubilee was to see if she could come up with any early recollections, any early childhood memories, and we'll be discussing that today in our session. Jubilee, I wanted to say thank you so much for coming back in today. I know it takes a lot of courage to reach out and get help sometimes when we need it. I just want you to know that I recognize that. I want to say thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you really for mentioning that, because it does have a bit of, trepidation when you're thinking about being vulnerable about your feelings.
Right, right, and that's very common. It's very common to feel that way. I wanted to start out with asking you if you had any questions about the informed consent that we went over. I know that can be a lot of information, and sometimes we just we're able to think on the spot, and just wondering if anything has come up from that you wanted to discuss.
No, everything is really clear.
Okay, great. So I did mention in the session before we began that I had assigned you some homework about recalling some early recollections. Were you able to do that?
Yes, I was actually.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. Do you feel comfortable sharing those with me today?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to start with the earliest and work our way up.
Okay.
Okay, so you start when you're ready.
Okay. So my earliest memory was about 4 years old. I was in our living room, and we had music playing, as we always, did in our home. And I was just dancing to Stevie Wonder, just, dancing around. And my mom walks in and she says, "Is that movement going to help you be on point?" And as a young ballerina, I thought, is it?
Okay. And so, in other words, in that memory, you were dancing and being a 4-year-old, just having fun, right? And then you remember your mom coming in and disrupting that and making it more about accomplishing something.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
How did that make you feel? Do you remember a feeling that was attached to the memory?
First, it was sad. It was went from extreme elation to kind of like the feeling of a balloon air getting let out of a balloon.
Right.
And then I thought, okay, I've got to be good. And so.
Okay, I can understand that. Okay. Do you have another memory?
Yes. About 9 years old, I remember sitting with my dad doing multiplication tables, and he was encouraging me and reminding me of the importance of just education, very college-oriented, family, educationally minded. So from an early age, just academics was very important. And so we were going over this paper, and I wasn't doing too well. And in walks my mom, and she takes the paper and she tears it out of the notebook and says, "Just start over." And so that was kind of difficult.
Yeah, definitely. I can understand that. When she did that, did you have an emotion that was attached to that memory?
I remember feeling like a failure, I just always have to do just a little bit more, because I thought I was doing my best, and my best it just required me having to start over. It wasn't enough.
Okay. Okay. So in that, the feeling and really the agreement of a belief would be that even if you do your best, it's not quite good enough.
Mm-hmm.
So from that, you might feel like you need to really strive and go the extra mile all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. And kind of maybe even like a sense of failure in that regard. Do you have any other memories that you'd like to share?
Yes. Another memory that popped into my mind was being 13. It was my 13th birthday party, and it was probably the day that I was absolutely most celebrated in my entire life to this day. My parents just greatly decorated our home from top to bottom. Every room was covered in pink and purple and sparkles, everything that I loved. And even they had a white pony show up. And what was interesting about that is I asked for the pony when I was 5, and they, for whatever reason, didn't give it to me. But then when they gave it to me when I was 13, it just reminded me that they really are listening to me, and that they really, love me. I felt very loved and cherished that day.
Okay, well that's good. That's a really good memory. That's one to definitely hold on to for sure. So when we talk about your first memory being one of kind of called out for having fun and directed back to being on task, so to speak, and then also the next memory of feeling that you were doing your best, but it wasn't quite good enough. Do you see kind of a theme of maybe some beliefs you may have from that? Do you feel like it's affected your situation that you're in right now?
Yes. I can honestly say that this is not a new occurrence. In high school, as I was working towards being valedictorian, I had the same kind of conflicts. And so that's some of the things that I kind of remembered as I was thinking about things. And so at work, I find myself being very frustrated and irritated by people interacting with one another and like having fun. For example, when my boss and her friend go to lunch and they come back with shopping bags, I'm like, really? Are you here to work? Why are we engaging in these activities? And so I think that the work needs to be where work is, and pleasure goes where pleasure goes. And so I just, feel that way, and it just causes disruption for me in the office because people just want to be social, and I want to get my work done.
Right. Okay. Well, I can understand that. I think at work it is a time to work, but there is some social aspect to it, to develop relationships and things like that. But I can see how that would be frustrating for sure. I just want to say that right now we are out of time for today, but you do have your appointment scheduled for next week, correct? Okay. So we will continue to talk about that and see how those beliefs can affect where you're working or the conflict that you're dealing with at work. And then we'll just continue on with this, and I believe that we'll reach a resolution to this.
Well, thank you so much for just giving me the space to talk about some things in the past and how they're affecting my current situation.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jubilee. I look forward to seeing you next week.